Good evening. Service has resumed on Line 2 after a fuel spill took trains out of service for much of the day.
The spill occurred overnight, disrupting service between Keele and Kipling stations. CTV's Rahim Ladani is live tonight with the latest. And Rahim, not a great start to the week for commuters.
No, Nathan, certainly not. I mean, the TTC first alerted commuters about this issue around 4:40 this morning, and enough oil had spilled that when the TTC was running test trains before reopening service, some of the subway trains were actually sliding as they came into the station. All of that oil needed to be cleaned up, and caught in the middle of all this have been commuters. Annoyed, disappointed, and frustrated.
I'm like half an hour late.
I'll just call my manager and just let her know.
Kind of bad because I could take an Uber from my place.
For nearly 12 hours through the morning rush and afternoon, commuters were turned away from Line 2 after a hydraulic oil spill at Old Mill subway station.
The funny thing is, as I arrived, I thought, what a great system we have. There's traffic on the Bloor Street. I can travel underground to where I have to get to. But now I can't.
Due to mechanical issue at Old Mill.
The TTC says the spill happened overnight around 2:30 a.m. during track work, shutting down service between Jane and Islington stations. The Transit Commission isn't detailing how much oil spilled or how it happened, but say 30 crew members were on the tracks with rags cleaning.
Very, very manual, labor-intensive work on their hands and knees, detergent cleaning off that track. This fluid is not, it's not like anything else. It's a very viscous fluid. It's intended to lubricate machinery, and it's thick. It sits on the track, so you have to really get down there and do that scrubbing. You can't just power wash it away.
Around 60 shuttle buses were brought in, running in both directions on Bloor Street between Kipling and Keele. Each one packed with people rushing to get on board, already late for work.
I really wish that, we would have been told while we got on the bus that that there's no subway service. But yeah, it is what it is now. I got to run.
This isn't the first time there's been an oil spill on subway tracks. A TTC report shows there were 4 hydraulic leak incidents between 2019 and 2023. Then another 8 between January and May of 2024. The blame pinned on aging equipment and lack of proper maintenance.
It used to work fine in what we're all calling now the before time, but now it's just useless.
TTC CEO Mandeep Lali is apologizing for the disruption, writing in a statement, "I have ordered an immediate and comprehensive review to determine what happened, including equipment condition, planning, working practices, and oversight. We will identify the root causes and implement clear corrective actions at pace. The goal is simple. This must not happen again." For now, commuters can only hope for a smoother ride tomorrow. Now, whether this spill was the result of a component failure or aging infrastructure or poor maintenance or any other potential issue will all be part of the detailed review that TTC is promising now to undertake. Reporting live, I'm Rahim Ladani. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Rahim. And for those who had to wait outside for buses today or drive or walk anywhere, the cold, snow and ice were a less than fun factor. We woke up to a lovely dose of wintry weather, and as we enjoyed this beautiful clear sky this evening, take note. It's deceiving. It is still chilly out there. Lindsay Morrison is here with a look at the current conditions. This is a day to have hats and mitts.
Oh, and at least this time tonight, Michelle, it's not going to feel like the minus teens or minus double digits. But you're right, still cold out there. It is 0 degrees this hour at Pearson Airport. It feels more like -4. We've had some blustery winds through the day today coming from the north, still below freezing in places like Ajax and Clarington, below seasonal just about everywhere. Those northwesterly winds are starting to ease, still gusting to near 30 kilometers per hour. Gone is the flurry activity. We had lake effect bands into this morning that accumulated that snow in some places. And depending on where you're joining us from, you might have had to chip your car out of some ice this morning. Tonight shouldn't be quite as bad. Evening temperature 0, overnight low -5 degrees, feeling more like -7. We're going to see the temperature start to climb beginning tomorrow, and we've got some sunshine to look forward to. Once again, we'll take you through the weather forecast coming up. For now, though, Nathan, I'll send it over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Also tonight, targeted by thieves. Some of Toronto's most luxurious neighborhoods are in the crosshairs of criminals. The rise in break-ins and the demand for private security.
An ominous threat hangs over Iran tonight. U.S. President Donald Trump has given the country until 8 p.m. Eastern to reopen the Strait of Hormuz or else.
In a social media post, Trump warned a whole civilization will die tonight if Iran doesn't act. CTV's Joy Malbin reports from Washington.
The U.S. and Israel launching new strikes hitting military targets on Karg Island, though no oil facilities were hit, hoping to pressure Tehran to open the Strait of Hormuz, that critical shipping route held hostage by Iran. President Donald Trump posting another ultimatum to make a deal or else. A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will. Ramping up his rhetoric, raising the stakes, and threatening to blow up everything.
After that, they're going to have no bridges, they're going to have no power plants. Stone Ages, yeah.
Striking civilian targets considered a war crime under the Geneva Convention, putting the U.S. military in a moral dilemma.
It is vile on every level. It begins with a promise to use the U.S. military, our military. Those people who are in direct contact with the president need to say, no, I'll resign. I'll do whatever I can do legally to stop this.
Iran is defiant, instructing civilians to become human shields, surrounding power plants and bridges to deter Trump, while striking targets in Israel and hitting the Gulf states. Qatar now warning this war could spiral out of control.
There are no winners in the continuation of this war. There are only losers.
Iran rejected a temporary ceasefire, slamming the president's threats as rude and delusional, and won't open the door to dialogue. The U.S. vice president saying just the opposite.
There's going to be a lot of negotiation between now and then, and I'm hopeful that it gets to a good resolution.
Pakistan's prime minister tweeting that there has been progress in diplomatic talks, and he's urging President Trump to extend his deadline and asking Iran to open the strait for 2 weeks as a sign of goodwill. Joy Malbin, CTV News, Washington.
Meanwhile, here in Toronto, Iranian Canadians are watching the president's next move with trepidation. Our Mike Walker is live tonight in North York with more. Mike.
Well, Michelle, everyone we spoke with here has family and friends in Iran, and tonight they are wondering if the U.S. president's rhetoric is pressure to get a deal or if military strikes will intensify. In Little Iran, there is overwhelming support for a regime change. This afternoon, many are monitoring the news with bated breath, not sure what to make of the latest threat by U.S. President Donald Trump that, quote, a whole civilization will die tonight if the Iranian government fails to meet the latest deadline to strike a deal and open the Strait of Hormuz.
We're waiting. We're calling each other. What if he's bluffing? Is he going to do it?
We should just see what has happened. Hopefully, the regime change.
Everyone we spoke with supports the U.S.-Israel attack.
That's all alternate.
Hopeful that the Islamic Republic will eventually be toppled.
Please keep going until the Irans be free.
But in the same breath, Kevin worries about what impact any further escalation in the war will have for Iranian citizens.
I don't like it that thing's gonna destroy it for the oil, for the electricity, for the electricity. So this is, of course, I'm unhappy. This is my country, my hometown, of course, but they're not leaving. IRGC, they have to be surrendered and they come with the people, but they're not.
Rahman supports the efforts to remove the regime, but hopes the president's threat is just a tactic.
It's bad. For the people, for my people. I don't care about his government.
Right now, he's worried about extended family in Iran that he has no way of getting in contact with.
I don't have any chances to call to, my phone or internet, WhatsApp. I can't. It's disconnected.
So they will continue to watch closely as the president's imposed deadline looms. So everyone we spoke with will be anxiously monitoring the developments over the next couple of hours with their family and friends' well-being top of mind. Reporting live in North York, Mike Walker. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Mike. Still ahead, you could call it a spring thaw in the housing market. The March numbers are in and home sales are up. Prices are a different story. We'll dig into the numbers a little later in the newscast.
But first, a 19-year-old man's been charged in connection with a double shooting in Brampton yesterday. Peel police were called to the Central Park Drive and Glenvale Boulevard area around noon yesterday for reports of shots fired. When they arrived, they found two men suffering from gunshot wounds. A 25-year-old man was taken to hospital in life-threatening condition, while a 21-year-old man was transported in serious but non-life-threatening condition. Police say they arrested 19-year-old Nishan Okoko following a short foot chase. He's facing a number of gun and drug-related charges, including attempted murder, aggravated assault, and unauthorized possession of a gun.
York Regional Police are investigating after a high school in Markham was targeted by a swatting call for the second time this year. Swatting is when a fake emergency is reported to prompt a huge police response. Police were called to Pierre Elliott Trudeau High School this morning. The call came from Los Angeles. The school was cleared and police confirmed there was no threat. On March 2nd, another swatting call that originated in LA also caused police to respond to the school when there was no actual emergency.
3 people are facing charges after a disturbance at a movie theater in Whitby. Durham Regional Police say it happened back in March when they got a call for a person with a gun at the Landmark Cinemas on Consumers Drive. Moviegoers were forced to leave after several people yelled someone had a gun. When police arrived, they were told 3 people had left the scene. Their investigation showed the 3 were filming social media content and had intentionally created a false disturbance that they could film. 2 23-year-olds and a 17-year-old, all from Ajax, are facing charges of causing a disturbance and mischief. Some residents of Rosedale are investing in security and private patrols following a rash of break-ins.
CTV's Janice Golding reports they're fed up and taking matters into their own hands.
Rosedale Moore Park boasts some of the most luxurious homes in Canada, homes that are increasingly being targeted by thieves.
I've had 4 cars stolen and 2 home invasions.
There's been so many problems of break-ins.
In fact, according to Toronto police data, there were 63 break-ins in the area in 2024 and 82 last year. That represents a significant jump, more than 30%.
In recent months, there has been a huge drive to organize private security.
And that's why Janice Lowe, president of the South Rosedale Residents Association, says some area residents, along with inhabitants of other affluent neighborhoods in the city, are paying for private security. For between $170 and $200 a month, security guards and vehicles patrol the streets, keeping an eye on clients' properties and noting suspicious activity, with agents ready to respond to break-ins within minutes.
There are door-knocking campaigns. There are also endorsements by the Residents Association. But every home has their own individual choice whether they would like to participate or not.
Opting into the patrol programs is optional with mixed reviews, although the Residents Association says participation is increasing weekly.
There's just not enough police. That's the problem, and there's too much crime.
I do like the idea. I think that maybe it'll be a deterrent for people that are trying to intimidate, break in.
We were approached and we decided against it. We didn't want to live in a place that was that cordoned off.
Meanwhile, many residents are beefing up security measures on their property, installing hammer-proof glass, stronger locking mechanisms, and alarm systems.
We're securityed up.
And you still feel nervous?
Yes, of course.
My husband and I have an alarm system. We make sure that the outdoor lights are on all night long.
Doing what they can to keep their families safe, while calling on governments to introduce longer-term solutions like harsher sentencing and bail reform. Janice Golding, CTV News.
A man in his 30s is in hospital following a single vehicle crash early this morning. Emergency crews called to the intersection of Sherway Gardens Road and Sherway Gate just before 1 a.m. for reports that a single vehicle had crashed into a pole. The driver ran from the scene but was later arrested. He was taken to hospital with serious injuries and has been charged with impaired driving.
And a man's been charged in connection with a fatal house fire in Cordis. 78-year-old Gerald Shadd died in the fire near Nash and Varco Road on February 22nd. Durham police say the suspect was arrested earlier this month while allegedly trying to set a fire in the area. 23-year-old Matthew Jones is facing several charges, including manslaughter and arson with disregard for human life. Police say he was on probation at the time and was not allowed to possess any incendiary devices. Emergency crews also responded to a fire on St. Clair near Old Weston Road overnight. Flames broke out just before 1 a.m. in a residential unit above a commercial property. Toronto Fire says nobody was hurt, but firefighters did administer oxygen to a cat found on the property. The cause of the fire is still under investigation.
Using AI to help keep Toronto traffic moving was one of the focuses of the city's Infrastructure and Environment Committee today.
The first smart traffic signals are expected to hit the streets next month. CTV's Beth McDonnell has details on where the program will be rolled out and what officials hope it can do.
The City of Toronto is turning to AI to unclog congested streets. Coming this spring, smart traffic signals after an exciting test.
We found that it was able to match or replicate the work of those traffic operations staff, and in some cases maybe even do a little bit better.
While the city has a staff traffic operations center which remotely controls signals, this technology detects traffic increases and can extend green lights and left turning lights on its own.
That being said, the traffic signals are in a network, and you have to be very careful about how much you adjust in one direction versus another. And so the benefit of smart signals is it's able to look at the entire mesh of traffic signals and make adjustments to the lights to favor demands in traffic that may be random and unexpected while minimizing the impacts on opposing traffic throughout the network.
Smart traffic signals are planned for sections of Steeles East and Steeles West, but the first installations will take place in May along Yonge Street from Mill Street near York Mills to Steeles.
We're very excited about this because gridlock is a problem and our community continues to grow. You know, we don't always get traffic agents in our neighborhood. In fact, we don't. Most of them get assigned downtown. So this will help us alleviate traffic.
Using AI and smart technology is one of 5 key pillars of the city's broader congestion management plan. Other key parts include shifting how people travel, improving transit, and reducing the impact of construction. A report on the plan says smart traffic signals work well for suburban areas because intersections tend to be standardized with traffic volumes more predictable. The city says deploying them to areas like North York, Etobicoke, and Scarborough free up staff in the Traffic Management Center to deal with more complicated intersections downtown.
It's worth a try. Better than nothing, doing nothing.
I don't think AI will solve the problem. I think more of a police presence.
You can use it as best as possible to control the systems, to control like the lights, but without government interjection to help with that, I think it's going to be like this for a while. You're kind of stuck in terms of the infrastructure in the building right here, right? Well, can you enforce like people not to come in their cars and to like take the TTC more?
Smart traffic signals cost $55,000 per location. 50 are expected to be installed this year, with the goal of eventually bringing a total of 300 online across the city. Beth McDonnell, CTV News.
The Prime Minister made an infrastructure announcement in the GTA today. Ottawa will spend $64 million on a new community centre and park in Brampton.
It will be a space where families gather, where kids learn to swim, where athletes train, and where this great community grows.
Carney says the 175,000 square foot Embleton Community Centre will feature a pool, gymnasium, fitness center, childcare facility, and outdoor recreational amenities. It's the first of 13 projects under the $51 billion federal Build Community Strong Fund. Provinces and territories will contribute nearly $17 billion, in addition to billions from municipalities and private capital. Ontario is slated to receive the most, $6 billion over 10 years. Ottawa says the province will use its allotment to waive sales taxes on eligible new homes for the new year.
The economic effect of the Iran war has resulted in the biggest oil supply disruption on record.
We're seeing a spike in gas prices. Chip and fertilizer supplies are threatened and farmer shipments are stalled. CTV's Heather Wright has the details.
English cheddars, French bries, provolone from Quebec. Good Cheese in downtown Toronto stocks products from around the world and is among the many grappling with the impacts of international events.
The first thing that you're going to notice is the price of shipping is going up. So that's definitely we're feeling the pinch on that.
Not only are shipping costs up, owner Luke Champion says so too are the prices of many cheeses he sells from both international and domestic suppliers. Champion is absorbing as much as he can, but worries about the unknown.
We're feeling it a little bit, but we're concerned about what's to come.
Businesses, households, grocers, and airlines are all feeling the impact of the war in Iran, now in its 6th week. The average price of regular gas in Canada is up 51 cents a litre since February 28th. Diesel has climbed an average of 74 cents a litre, while jet fuel has surged $1.05 a litre. and many companies have already begun passing these prices along to the consumer. Air Canada Vacations has started implementing a $50 per passenger fee on some destinations, while WestJet will add a $60 fuel surcharge to all bookings made using vouchers from its MasterCard loyalty program. While Amazon will charge sellers a 3.5% fuel surcharge on deliveries beginning April 17th.
Energy, oil is embedded in everything that we have in the modern economy.
Andre Sura is an operations management professor at the University of Toronto and predicts high prices will be here for many months, even if the war ends soon.
I would say that the only certainty that we have is that it's going to take a long time until the prices, they really stabilize.
While inflation eased in February, experts are expecting a significant increase to the March numbers and say the longer this war lasts, the harder it is going to be for consumers. Heather Wright, CTV News, Toronto.
We are 6 days away until voters go to the polls in 3 federal by-elections, 2 of them here in Toronto. It's a crucial day for the Liberals. CTV's Abigail Beeman has a look at what's at stake.
A closely watched race in Terrebonne, Quebec, previously won by just 1 vote. And 2 in Toronto expected to stay Liberal red. Right now in Parliament, the minority Liberals hold 170 seats, the Conservatives 141. With 343 seats total, 2 by-election wins would officially get the Liberals a majority at 172.
The reality is it's actually a lot more complicated than that.
Political science professor Alex Marlin points to a number of factors. The Speaker, currently a Liberal, doesn't vote except in a tie. And in a tight majority, you need to make sure no one misses a vote. While the makeup of parliamentary committees doesn't suddenly change, not currently controlled by Liberals, so government business won't suddenly speed up.
Just because you happen to have a razor-thin majority, slightly more than half of the seats in the legislature, doesn't magically change an awful lot other than in the narrative. The narrative for Mark Carney would become very, very positive, and by extension, it would be negative for Pierre Poilievre.
It would mean higher food prices, higher taxes, a ballooning deficit, which Mr. Carney has already doubled. It would mean that he could continue to block resource projects and give us the only shrinking economy in the G7.
That's why the 3rd by-election in Terrebonne could make a difference, a tight fight between the Liberals and the Bloc. Add 4 floor crossers this session and questions about the future of a Trudeau cabinet minister, and you see why each seat matters. While the Prime Minister was clear, even with a majority, he wouldn't prorogue Parliament, launching a reset.
Absolutely not. It has never even entered my thinking.
There are more questions still about what could change the course of Parliament and government business. How the Prime Minister plans to fill growing Senate vacancies is one of them. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, Ottawa.
And preliminary data from Elections Canada says 10,300 advanced ballots were cast in the Toronto riding of Scarborough Southwest, 9,400 in University Rosedale. Those 2 by-elections will replace former cabinet ministers Chrystia Freeland and Bill Blair, both resigned to take other jobs. 18,200 people voted ahead of time in the Quebec riding of Terrebonne, where the 3rd by-election will be held April 13th.
A delicate rescue was required in Surrey, BC, to free a pair of bald eagles trapped in power lines. This footage shows a firefighter, along with wildlife volunteers and a BC Hydro crew, using a ladder to reach the 2 bald eagles hanging upside down from power lines. The birds had locked talons while sparring during nesting season. Once freed, the birds appeared to be okay, taking flight immediately.
From one coast to the other, international headlines are raising eyebrows in Newfoundland and Labrador. Both People magazine and the BBC describe the province as a freezing Canadian island.
That sparked some big reactions and even a complaint from the provincial government. CTV's Garrett Berry has the story.
A story of heroism the likes the world has never seen.
A headline so worthy of parody, Keith Muse says he just couldn't leave it alone.
That was stranded on a lifeless, frozen tundra island.
When the BBC and People magazine wrote of one flight's air travel nightmares, they called Newfoundland a freezing Canadian island.
In a city of mere hundreds of thousands, 200,000.
That description didn't quite sit just right. with some people in this province who are kind of famous for bringing people in when flights are grounded. The musical Come From Away about the grounded flights after the 9/11 attacks helped catapult central Newfoundland to Broadway fame.
I just don't want to hear anybody badmouth in Newfoundland. You know, you don't get stranded here. You can't get stranded in the best province in the country, as far as I'm concerned.
The British Airways flight from London was grounded for 2 days in St. John's, first for a medical emergency and then for what staff called a temporary technical issue. All the while, they didn't have access to their bags.
We are used to this, and the staff are used to getting called in the middle of the night to come and help, and they're very dedicated.
Heather McKinnon and her team at the Delta Hotel took in most of those passengers during their delay. She says hotel staff made extra runs to Shoppers or Walmart to help passengers while their bags were stuck on board.
Some were traveling for funerals, some were traveling for weddings, so that was a little frustrating, but they kept in good humor.
But that headline, the freezing Canadian island, it caught the attention of this province's tourism minister, who wrote to People magazine today, complaining the headline diminished Newfoundland and Labrador. Garrett Berry, CTV News, St. John's.
Coming up, adventures in deep space. The Artemis crew emerges from their exploration of the far side of the moon. The out-of-this-world images as the capsule heads towards home.
Well, as you take a look at these temperatures for tomorrow morning, I'm going to remind you of the fact that we are now 1 week into April. We don't need to get too used to this. A low of -5 degrees into tomorrow morning. That'll be the last time it's that cold for a day or two. And heading into the weekend, we're in for a nice little bump in temperature. Also, Thursday looks to be perhaps our warmest day of the week, but that day also comes with the threat of some active weather. And then by Friday, we could get a little mixing in the mix. We'll take you through a full look at your weather forecast after the break. Stay with us.
Canadian Jeremy Hansen and his Artemis II crewmates are heading home.
Their Orion spacecraft exited the lunar sphere of influence this afternoon, leaving the moon's gravitational pull behind. The astronauts were awoken at 11:35 this morning when Mission Control played Tokyo Drifting by Denzel Curry and Glass Animals. First up for the crew, sending back photos they took during their historic 7-hour journey around the far side of the moon. The astronauts took thousands of images, including one showing a solar eclipse. The crew came within about 6,500 kilometers of our celestial neighbor, enjoying the views of the lunar surface previously unseen by human eyes. It reached roughly 407,000 kilometers from Earth, breaking Apollo 13's record for the farthest humans have traveled into space. Jeremy Hansen talked about what it was like on the other side without any contact with Earth.
We were so busy with the science, and we have such faith in our vehicle integrity, such faith in mission control, that we were just at complete peace and just doing our job, and just trying to do a good job to collect as much science data as we could while we were on the far side of the moon, and we were just giddy in here.
Now, today, the crew also spoke with astronauts aboard the International Space Station, all discussing their experiences in space. It was the first such moonship-to-spaceship radio link-up ever. Later, back on the Orion capsule, Hansen received a distinctive honor.
We just wanted to take this moment to recognize the two newest members of the Association of Space Explorers, NASA astronaut Christina Cook and Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jeremy Hansen. Reed and I are both members, and we're proud to welcome the two of them to this international body of human space explorers.
The London native and his fellow astronauts are scheduled to splash down off the San Diego coast on Friday, ending their nearly 10-day flight. It sets the stage for next year's Artemis III, a lunar lander docking in orbit around Earth. Artemis IV will follow in 2028, with 2 astronauts attempting to land near the moon's south pole. So much to look forward to, including the splashdown.
It's such an exciting time. It's been fun to watch, and let's hope the rest of their journey is safe. They were near the South Pole. It's certainly not as cold as the South Pole, but cold enough today.
It was cold today. I mean, we can't say it enough. It's April. We're now a week into the month, and yeah, it felt a little more like January this morning. Biting wind chills, making it feel into the minus teens. And of course, we had a little bit of snow in places. We had icy surfaces too. But this afternoon, the sun was out. This is Lakeview Park in Oshawa, a really beautiful spot in the GTA. And even on a day like this, you could find some beauty out there. But I think just about everyone may be finished with the wintry weather for now. There's not too much more benefit at this time of year to getting additional snow. The weather forecast is a little bit quieter over the next couple of days, but there is some active weather we're going to talk about. I also want to talk about the fact that our temperature has just gone up another degree. So we're at +1 right now at Pearson Airport. Overnight tonight, though, dropping to -5 degrees for the low. Wind chill about -7. Back in the minus double digits for wind chills in places like Waterloo and Peterborough. Tomorrow at a glance. So after a chilly morning, the afternoon looks pretty good. We will have sunshine once again, and we're also forecasting a milder temperature of 6 degrees. You will notice, however, that that is still a little below seasonal. We expect to climb to near 10 degrees at this time of year. Some communities will be close to that. 11 degrees is what we're forecasting in Welland. About 7 for a high in places like Burlington and Collingwood, as well as Huntsville. Again, you may just find it slightly cooler in some pockets of the GTA, including close to the waterfront. On the satellite and radar, earlier today, we had lake effect streamers coming off of both Lake Huron and Georgian Bay. We had system snow in eastern Ontario. Improvements have been happening all day long, and now we've got mainly clear skies. Clear skies are expected through the night tonight, but here's what's coming. So we've got this disturbance for Thursday, and that front is expected to bring us a few showers midday. That's also going to be a very mild day. And then this system could impact our Friday, specifically our Friday morning. And while there is still time for this to change in many ways, right now we see signs of possible wet snow, maybe a few rain showers too. There is a slight increase in cloud cover that happens late day Wednesday. This is midday Thursday. So as that front swings through, expect a few showers. That's going to clear back out. Friday, there's the morning hours, and there's that mixing line, which could move right through the GTA. A little bit of wet snow possible, as mentioned, but also rain expected, and it could be pretty steady through your Friday morning. Thursday's high, 18 degrees, and then we're back in the low single digits for Friday, which is why we have that possibility of mixed precip. Let's talk about the weekend. Saturday looks great, sunny and 12 degrees. A little more cloud for Sunday, but still mild. Temperatures in the upper teens early next week. That's the forecast for now. Michelle, I'll send it over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Also tonight, funny, not funny, a comedic look at one of the most serious Canadian sports stories of all time. We catch up with the actor who plays Ben Johnson in a new mockumentary. Today is National Caregiver Day. In Ontario alone, 4.2 million people provide care to a family member, partner, friend, or neighbor, with that number expected to climb to 6.5 million by 2030.
My dad had a couple little strokes the end of 2023. He died August 1st of 2024. And in that kind of 8-10 months, I was amazed at how challenging the caregiving experience is. And I was secondary. My mom, who, by the way, is a retired nurse. So we've got a medical professional, we have somebody who's very, very capable, and then me coming in to kind of, you know, I don't know, what's the baseball term? Pinch hit?
Yeah, that's a good term.
And I still found it really challenging.
Last year, 1.9 million emergency room visits were related to a caregiver need. In addition to the mental strain, being a caregiver can often take a toll financially, with people paying hundreds of dollars out of pocket per month.
Canada's Wonderland is making its chaperone policy for younger guests permanent. All guests who are 15 years of age or younger will have to be accompanied by an adult older than 21 in order to be admitted or remain in the park after 4 p.m. each day. One chaperone cannot have more than 10 guests. Wonderland implemented a similar policy back in September because of what it described as unruly and inappropriate behavior by younger visitors. The new policy will be in effect for the entire 2026 season, which officially begins on May 3rd.
Kanye West has been banned from entering the UK, where he was scheduled to perform in July. The rapper had been set to headline London's Wireless Festival, but had his travel travel authorization blocked by the UK government because of his history of anti-Semitic remarks. Britain's Home Office says Kanye's presence would not have been conducive to the public good. The festival's organizers have since canceled the three-day event. An actor from Scarborough is stepping into the shoes of Canada's most infamous sprinters.
As CTV's Andrea Case reports, Hate the Player, the Ben Johnson story, takes a surprising new look at the race that changed the sport forever.
Lane number 6 from Canada, the number 1 of all time, world champion, world record holder, Ben Johnson.
There have been countless news stories, articles, and films like this one called 9.79, which chronicled the 100-meter final at the 1988 Summer Olympics in Seoul, Korea. If you weren't around at the time, Canadian sprinter Ben Johnson stunned his competitors and the world with a blistering world record pace of 9.79 seconds.
He's not going to catch him. Johnson wins it.
3 days later, a stunning announcement.
I've just been handed a piece of paper here that if it's right, it'll be the most dramatic story out of these Olympics or perhaps any others.
Johnson tested positive for steroids and was stripped of his gold medal. It was serious business. This isn't.
Hold on. That wasn't so bad.
Shot last year in Toronto, a new series called Hate the Player, the Ben Johnson story, is a much different take. With Johnson's blessing, this is a campy, satirical version. Wearing the spikes is actor Shamir Anderson.
The story needs to be told because people need to know the truth and his version. This is a man that was vilified. This was a man that was the scapegoat. And I think our story is so important because not only does it shed a light on this man's history, but we do it in a very funny way. It's a comedy.
We're used to seeing Anderson in action roles like a mysterious assassin in John Wick 4, but here he gets to exercise his comedic chops, return to his roots of sorts. He started out in theater and sketch comedy.
Every single country had a drug program.
Comedy he was familiar with, sprinting not so much.
I'm not a sprinter, but I did a lot of training and worked with a lot of people to really help me get to that place. But I'm an actor through and through, and I had to do a lot of gymming, a lot of running, and a lot of non-jerk chickening, so no eating jerk chicken.
So you made a sacrifice for this film.
I made a major sacrifice, and I didn't have much time to do it.
Ben Johnson will pay.
CTV News caught up with Anderson at the Toronto Film Critics Awards.
It was very important to me to get it right, because I'm Jamaican descent, Ben's Jamaican from Scarborough, and I did a lot of work, and my mother actually helped me a lot with the dialect, the culture, and she's literally my acting coach, which is crazy to say, but she helped me out.
Hate the Player, the Ben Johnson story is available now on Paramount+. Andrea Case, CTV News.
After the break, more money, less chances. Lotto Max changes the odds and raises ticket prices while upping the maximum jackpot. Details on the new lottery gamble coming up.
We have breaking news this hour. Just hours before an 8 p.m. deadline, U.S. President Donald Trump has just released a statement on his Truth Social platform saying he's agreed to suspend the bombing and attack of Iran for 2 weeks. Trump says he has made this decision because he believes the U.S. has already met and exceeded all military objectives and calls it a double-sided ceasefire. Trump says it is subject to Iran agreeing to the complete, immediate and safe reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. The move made in conjunction with a request from Pakistan's prime minister that Trump hold off on his threat that, quote, a whole civilization will die tonight if Iran didn't reopen the strait.
A mining company based in B.C. is reporting some of its workers in Mexico have been killed. BNN Bloomberg's Morella Fernandez has more.
Vizsla is based in Vancouver. It confirms that 9 out of 10 workers kidnapped back in January are dead. The employees worked at the Canadian company's silver mine in Sinaloa State. It's known for cartel violence. Mexican officials say the group may have been mistaken for gang members when they were abducted. One of the workers is still missing. For the first time in 6 months, home sales in Toronto rose. Last month, sales were up 1.7% from March of 2025. But prices are still moving in the opposite direction. The average selling price dropped 6.7% year over year, but it's still over $1 million. Canadians could soon see better deals on Doritos. Sources say PepsiCo has missed its revenue targets and so will slash prices on salty snacks like Lay's, Ruffles, and Cheetos. Walmart has been complaining about the higher price of PepsiCo products, saying some bags cost as much as $7. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is up to 71.98. West Texas Intermediate is up to 112.95. Western Canadian Select is down over $1 to 79.49. And the TSX gained 55 points today. Those are your business headlines. I'm Morella Fernandez.
And as Morella mentioned, for the first time in half a year, home sales in the GTA are up.
But the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board says that while sales are up, average selling prices have declined. CTV's John Musselman has the details.
There seems to be a bit of a spring in the spring housing market across the GTA. The latest figures from the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board show home sales are up nearly 1.5% over last month. And analysts say it may be a good time for buyers.
Definitely over the last year, there's been a lot of negotiating power across multiple different segments, from condominium apartments up through traditional single family housing. And so that's helped with affordability, certainly. And I think, as we look forward, it'll be only more beneficial as people start to get their feet on the ground in terms of, the economic situation.
Here's a look at the numbers. More than 5,000 home sales were reported in March of 2026. That's an increase of 1.7% compared to last year. The average selling price, though, is at $1 million. That's down 6.7% compared to March of 2025.
Right now, it seems like the market's finding its floor.
Local Remax Walmart agent Ravi Singh says the spring bump is a promising sign, but much will depend on global events. He says the sweet spot for buyers right now in the GTA appears to be listings just below $900,000.
So for freehold properties, anything kind of south of 900 or under $1 million seems to still be doing very well. General volume, we're seeing almost 40% of homes sell under $1 million, and we're seeing 60% sell under 1.2.
I think certainly as we move into the second half of this year, if we see a little bit more certainty on trade, if we see a little bit more certainty on the other issues we're grappling with around the world, that could see more people move off the sidelines and make a home purchase.
Experts say prices are expected to remain stable throughout the spring and summer market. The local condo market remains the weakest segment, with a large inventory of available units and declining sales. John Musselman, CTV News.
If you buy lottery tickets, you'll soon see changes to the Lotto Max game. Starting Friday, ticket prices are rising from $5 to $6, but each one comes with 4 lines instead of 3. Players will also choose their 7 numbers from 52 rather than 50. The changes are expected to result in slightly higher returns, but the shift to a larger pool of numbers means each individual player becomes less likely to win. Maximum jackpots are also increasing to $90 million, up from the current $80 million cap.
The Blue Jays look to bounce back after their World Series matchup with the Dodgers started with a thud.
Tucker not going, and Hernandez hits it deep to left field for a 2-run homer.
It was a beatdown. Toronto lost 14-2 last night, their 5th straight loss. Kevin Gausman will try and right the ship when he takes the mound for the home team this evening. And the Jays' injury woes continue. Outfielder Addison Barger has been placed on the 10-day injured list, and catcher Alejandro Kirk is expected to miss 6 weeks after undergoing left thumb surgery today.
Shot clock down. Brown fading in the corner. Oh!
Meantime, the Raptors are holding on to a playoff spot as they enter the first of 2 home games, both against Miami. Toronto is a half game ahead of 3 teams for 6th spot in the Eastern Conference and a guaranteed first-round playoff series. A slip to 7th or lower would see them relegated to the postseason play-in tournament.
Just ahead, scoring smiles off the ice. The Toronto Scepter stick-handling story time with local kids. Their power play for literacy coming up. The Toronto Scepters continue their final push for a spot in the PWHL playoffs.
And today, some of the players took a moment to meet with fans and celebrate the love of reading.
the kind of path that women's hockey players take, and a lot of them come from university, so starting kind of branching out, reading to learn.
We really want to empower children to build a love of reading and build home libraries by getting to choose what they read, making reading something that's enjoyable rather than homework or something that they need to do.
Two of the players joined children at the Regent Park Book Bank this afternoon. The facility provides free books and literacy programs across the city. Together, they read from the book The Women's Hockey Fan Book and held a Q&A. The Scepters defeated the Ottawa Charge last week 2-1 at the Saddle Dome in Calgary. They will face them again in a rematch this Saturday at home at Coca-Cola Coliseum.
When I think hockey, I think ice, and we had some of that this morning.
We
everywhere.
Did. Yeah, just none of us were wearing our skates, so we had to watch our step. Yeah, pretty icy this morning. Tomorrow morning should be a little bit better. We've seen gradual clearing throughout the day today. Nothing to show you here on the satellite and radar, and tomorrow should be similar in the sense that we've got lots of sunshine, bit of an increase in cloud cover expected later in the day. Daytime high about 6 degrees, so that too is an improvement from today. Look at the roller coaster ride we are on, though. Thursday up around 18 for a high, back down to about 5 degrees for as warm as it gets Friday. Temperature will be cooler than that in the morning, so we could see some rain, could see some snow. The weekend looks dry, seasonal, or at least on the warm side of seasonal. Lots of sunshine for Saturday as well. Michelle and Nathan.
Wow, so much is happening. Thank you, Lindsay. That's it for us, but you can join Omar Sajidin at 11 tonight for CTV National News, followed by Zarada Allman with your next local newscast at 11:30.
Meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here at CTV News, thanks for watching and have a great night.